picture this for a second. You live in this massive, bustling city.
Right.
And you've been there for a decade. You know the streets by heart. You have your favorite coffee shop. And, you've met some of your absolute best friends there.
It's home.
Exactly. It's home. Maybe you even started a business or, I don't know, met your spouse in this city. You are deeply personally invested in this place.
Yeah, you've put down roots.
Right. And then one day you wake up and the people who own the land they just board it all up.
Wow. Just like that.
Just like that. No warning, no real explanation, no, hey, we're building a new city next door, let us help you move. Just a sudden eviction notice.
That's brutal.
It is. So what happens to the millions of people who live there? Where does all that community energy, all that history actually go?
Well, I mean, it definitely doesn't just quietly dissipate into the ether. It erupts. And from both an economic and a psychological standpoint, the fallout of that kind of displacement it's massive. People don't just pack up their bags and move on. They push back because you are actively threatening their social home.
Which brings us to the exact eruption we are looking at in today's deep dive. We're digging into this absolutely fascinating paper from May 2026 by Dr. Hannel.
Such a good paper.
It really is. It's titled The Cost of Leaving the Tower, Bungie, Destiny 2, and the Strategic Miscalculation of Social Capital.
Yeah, that title really says it all, doesn't it?
It does. And our mission today is to explore a central, burning question from this research. How should companies value the communities that form around long-running live service games?
Right.
And maybe more importantly, what happens when they completely miscalculate that value?
It's a brilliant question, honestly, because it exposes this glaring blind spot in traditional corporate accounting.
Okay, set the stage for us.
Yeah.
What exactly are we looking at here?
So we are looking at Bungie's decision to end active development on Destiny 2, and crucially, doing so without a clear successor in place.
Which obviously went over terribly.
Oh, it triggered an absolute firestorm of community backlash. But, and this is where Dr. Hannel's research comes in, he argues this wasn't just a case of gamers throwing a tantrum on the internet.
Right. It's not just internet noise.
Exactly. It was a highly predictable response to a company undervaluing its own social ecosystem.
I love uncovering these hidden systems. And this right here, I mean, this isn't just about video games.
Yeah, not at all.
This is about a fundamental clash between old school spreadsheet metrics and the messy, complicated reality of modern digital communities. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
To really understand the backlash to Bungie's decision, we first have to look at why a game like Destiny is fundamentally different from traditional media.
Right, they're completely different animals.
Yeah, like consuming traditional media, say reading a book or watching a movie, it's kind of like eating a meal alone. You consume it, you digest it, you finish it, and you move on.
The transaction is over.
Exactly. But playing a live service game for over 10 years, that is literally like moving to that new city we just talked about.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So if I'm a CFO, right, and I'm looking at my quarterly reports, how do my traditional business metrics completely miss the reality of this digital city?
Well, they miss it because those traditional metrics are measuring the wrong kind of capital entirely.
What do you mean?
So financial spreadsheets look at things like units sold or active daily users or, how many cosmetic items were purchased this month. They measure transactions.
Right, money in, money out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But games like Destiny, over the last decade, they evolved from mere software products into highly complex social ecosystems.
Okay, so it's less about the software and more about the people.
Yes, exactly. Over 10 years, fire teams, which for those who don't know are just small groups of 3 to 6 players tackling a mission, those fire teams evolved into genuine, deep friendships.
Right, they aren't just avatars anymore.
No, not at all. Clans became actual functioning support systems. As Dr. Hannel points out in the research, players literally met their spouses in this game.
Wait, really? Marriages?
Oh yeah, marriages, lifelong bonds. People even found real-world business partners through their shared experiences in the game.
That is wild.
Right, and you just can't capture the weight of a marriage on a spreadsheet that's only measuring daily active users.
Yeah, no kidding. It's almost like the game itself just becomes the venue.
Yes.
Like, it's the bowling alley where the league meets.
Yeah.
The league doesn't show up every Tuesday because they are passionately in love with the waxed wood of the bowling lane, right?
Right.
They show up to drink beer with their friends. The lane is just the excuse to gather.
Which forces us to look at a completely different framework to understand the value here. And this is where Dr. Hannel brings in the concept of social capital.
Okay, break that down for me.
So he cites the political scientist Robert Putnam.
Oh, right, bowling alone.
Exactly, same guy. Putnam defines social capital as the value created through networks, trust, cooperation, and social relationships.
Okay, so value that exists between people, basically.
Yes. And by Putnam's definition, a decade-old game like Destiny had accumulated an astronomical amount of social capital.
Just massive reserves of it.
Massive. Players weren't logging in every week because the code was so inherently compelling anymore. They were logging in long after they'd beaten all the available content because their friends were hanging out in the tower.
The tower being the game's central social hub.
Right. That was their digital coffee shop.
That completely flips the traditional business model on its head, though. I mean, the old model assumes the content drives the engagement.
Right. You make a fun level, I play it.
Yeah. You make a fun level, I play the fun level, you make money.
Yeah.
But community-driven ecosystems seem to work in reverse.
How do you mean?
Well, the social relationships are what actually sustain the engagement,
Yeah.
which then justifies the production of the new content.
Yes. And that dynamic creates what economists call network effects.
Okay, network effects. Talk to me about that.
So network effects describe a system that becomes exponentially more valuable to every user as more participants join and contribute to it.
Okay, so the more people there are, the better it is for everyone.
Exactly. Think about the Destiny ecosystem in practice. Let's say a new player steps up to be a raid Sherpa.
Which is the community's term for an experienced player who volunteers to teach complex missions to beginners.
Right, the 6-player puzzle missions. So that Sherpa is increasing the value of the game for everyone else.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and every new lore enthusiast who writes a 10-page deep dive on the story, every clan leader who recruits new members, they are all doing unpaid labor.
Free work for the company, basically.
Pretty much. And that labor makes the ecosystem stickier and significantly more valuable.
It's like adding a new public park or a great new restaurant to our digital city. It makes everyone else want to stay there.
That's a perfect analogy.
But let me push back a little here. I mean, the bowling alley analogy makes intuitive sense. But from a strict business perspective, how do we know this isn't just a nice sentiment?
You mean, is there actual proof?
Yeah. Is there hard data backing up this shift from playing for the game to playing for the people?
Oh, absolutely. The data actually points to a very clear, measurable shift in player behavior over time. Dr. Hannel points to a really rich history of academic research on this.
Okay, what kind of research?
Well, researchers like Duchanat and his colleagues, they were some of the first to demonstrate that guilds and persistent social networks are the critical load-bearing component of player engagement in massive online games.
Load-bearing, I like that.
Yeah. But if you want to look at the timeline of a single player, later research by Park and others found a very specific psychological pattern.
What's the pattern?
Early on in a player's life cycle, it is absolutely the achievement and progression that attracts them. You want the shiny new loot. You want to beat the boss.
Right, the traditional game stuff.
Exactly. But for veteran players, the ones who have been around for years, friendships and community participation become the primary, overwhelming predictors of long-term retention.
Wow. So the loot gets you in the door, but the people keep you in the house.
That is exactly the mechanism at play. And a systematic review by Gonsalves and their team confirmed this across multiple titles.
Oh, so it's not just Destiny.
Not at all. They concluded that social interaction is one of the defining characteristics of modern multiplayer gaming. It is essential for maintaining that social capital.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Right. So when we look at Bungie's decision to end active development without offering a clear, immediate successor, they weren't just turning off a content faucet.
No, they were blowing up the coffee shop.
They were effectively taking a sledgehammer to the very social networks that kept their business running. And as any sociologist will tell you, once you force a social network to disperse, it is extraordinarily difficult to put it back together.
I hear you, but let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Because I want to look at the players who aren't currently logging in. We've established that the active daily players are bound together by this social capital.
Right.
But what about the massive chunk of the audience that isn't actively playing? Like, say I haven't logged into Destiny 2 for 3 or 4 months because, life kicked me.
That happens all the time.
Right. But I'm on YouTube every single day watching lore breakdown videos.
Right.
Or maybe I'm listening to a podcast about the game's sandbox updates on my commute to work.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So traditional corporate metrics look at my account, they see 0 hours logged in the last 90 days, and they label me an inactive user. I'm a 0 on the spreadsheet.
A completely dead lead.
Exactly. But am I really lost to the franchise?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the inactive label fundamentally misunderstands how modern media consumption works.
How so?
You aren't lost at all. You are just engaging through a different layer of the franchise's infrastructure. And that brings us to the creator economy, which Dr. Hannel argues is another massively overlooked element in this whole strategic miscalculation.
Oh, the YouTubers and Twitch streamers.
Yes. Over the years, thousands of creators built entire lucrative careers around Destiny. We're talking daily live streams, intricate weapon build guides, dense story analyses, weekly news coverage.
Which results in millions of hours of content just out there on the internet, acting like a giant 247 neon billboard for the game.
But it's much more functional than just a billboard. This creator ecosystem actually serves as an informal, decentralized retention network.
A retention network.
Yeah, it actively keeps players tethered to the franchise. So even if you are totally burned out on the actual gameplay, maybe you're frustrated with a recent update, and you haven't touched your controller in months, you are still passively consuming the universe. You are staying current. And that passive secondary engagement makes your eventual future re-engagement highly likely when a new expansion drops.
That makes total sense. It keeps the pilot light on. You're still in the ecosystem, just, in a different room.
Exactly. And to explain the mechanics behind this, Dr. Hannel brings in media scholar Henry Jenkins.
What's his angle?
Jenkins talks about this concept of participatory culture. He argues that we have to move past the 20th century broadcast model, where audiences are just passive receivers of media.
Like just sitting on the couch watching TV.
Right. Modern audiences are active contributors. They create tangible value through discussion, theorizing, and interaction. Destiny's community is a textbook case of this.
So when the boardroom makes a decision.
Right. When they make a strategic decision to sunset a game like Destiny, they aren't just affecting the software client sitting on someone's hard drive. They are disrupting this massive interconnected web of participatory culture that spans across YouTube, Reddit, Discord, Twitch, everywhere.
It honestly reminds me of how we treat professional sports.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, like I don't need to be actively out on a grass field tackling someone to be considered a participant in football culture.
Right. You aren't playing, but you're involved.
Exactly. I watch the games on Sunday. I buy the team jersey. I spend hours arguing about draft picks on a forum. I listen to sports radio. I am actively participating in the NFL's ecosystem, even though I haven't thrown a football in 10 years.
That analogy maps perfectly onto what researchers are seeing in digital spaces right now. Media scholar T.L. Taylor actually coined a specific term for this dynamic in gaming.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
She calls it spectatorship. Modern gaming has completely blurred the boundary between the person holding the controller and the person watching the screen.
Because they're all part of the same conversation.
Exactly. Taylor notes that viewing is, in and of itself, a form of active participation. A player who hasn't logged in for half a year might still strongly, personally identify as a guardian.
Which is the in-game term for players.
Right. They feel like a guardian because they are an active part of that spectator community. Traditional engagement metrics absolutely fail to capture this psychological tether, but it is vital to a franchise's cultural relevance and its financial longevity.
Okay, let's tie this together because the picture getting painted here is pretty volatile.
Oh, very volatile.
We have this massive, highly invested community. They are deeply tethered to each other through the social captor of their clans and friendships.
Yep.
And they are tethered to the franchise through this informal retention network of creators and spectatorship.
Right.
So because they are so connected, cutting the cord like Bungie did by ending active development, it guarantees a massive, explosive reaction.
Totally predictable one, yeah.
But if I'm sitting in a corporate boardroom, why should I care? The community gets mad, they go to Reddit, they start an online petition. Aren't online petitions usually just, emotional internet noise?
People just venting.
Exactly. Just angry people clicking a button to vent, which eventually just blows over.
It's very easy for executives to dismiss internet outrage as just noise, especially in the gaming industry where passions run so high anyway.
Right.
But Dr. Hannel's analysis of this specific event shows that this response was something entirely different. When you look at the metrics of the backlash, it wasn't just noise. It was an organic, highly visible, and undeniable market signal.
Okay, walk me through that. What makes this Destiny petition fundamentally different from, say, a petition to bring back a canceled sci-fi show on Netflix?
The difference really comes down to the scale, the speed, and the specific actionable nature of the demand.
Okay.
So according to reporting by journalist Jordan Midler, the community's petition demanding the development of Destiny 3 gained over 265,000 signatures in just 4 days.
265,000 in 4 days.
Yeah, think about the logistics of that. It achieved that reach with zero financial incentives, zero marketing budget, and zero corporate sponsorship.
Just pure word of mouth.
Purely driven by the organic communication channels of that social network we discussed earlier.
Hmm.
Furthermore, players didn't just sign a digital piece of paper and walk away.
What else did they do?
They organized massive, coordinated campaigns to actively log back into Destiny 2 at specific times, specifically to overload the servers.
Wait, really? Just to crash it?
Well, to demonstrate the continuing strength and viability of the franchise to the executives.
Wow. So they are effectively generating their own unsolicited market research data to prove the boardroom's financial projections wrong.
That's the perfect way to look at it. Unlike commission market research, where a company pays a focus group to tell them what they think,
Right.
this was entirely voluntary and incredibly organized. Hundreds of thousands of people were investing their time and attaching their public digital identities to say, we are here, we are an active network, and we are literally begging to spend money on a future installment.
That is wild.
From a strict economic standpoint, that is a concrete demonstration of demand. It proves to any observer that this isn't just nostalgia for the past, it's a hunger for a future that the community feels is being arbitrarily denied to them.
And that sense of denial ties into what the paper refers to as the marathon problem, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because the community isn't just angry that their game is ending. They are specifically angry about where they perceive those development resources are going.
This is a crucial psychological component that fueled the intensity of the backlash. Reporter Ethan Gosch documented this widespread community perception that Bungie was taking resources, executive attention, and long-term planning away from Destiny.
Which was, a proven successful ecosystem.
Right, and aggressively redirecting them toward an unproven new extraction shooter called Marathon.
And honestly, it doesn't even matter if that's exactly how the budget was allocated internally line by line.
No, it doesn't.
Because the perception becomes the reality for the community.
And perception has very real, measurable consequences on consumer behavior. Consumers generally aren't opposed to innovation. They love new things.
Sure.
But they actively reject innovation when it feels like it is cannibalizing something they already deeply love and consider their digital home.
That makes total sense.
And compounding all of this anxiety were further reports from Jordan Midler indicating that Destiny 3 wasn't even in active development at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that Bungie's strategic focus had entirely shifted amid looming corporate layoffs.
So to go back to our city analogy, the people running the city are tearing down the infrastructure to fund a completely different blueprint across town.
Exactly.
And they aren't even bothering to build new housing for the people they're actively evicting.
When you frame it like that, you can see why the reaction shifts from mere disappointment to a profound sense of betrayal. The players felt like the social capital they had spent a decade building was being liquidated to fund a gamble they didn't ask for.
Wow. So what does this all mean when we zoom out?
The big picture.
Yeah. When you step back and look at this cascade of missteps, the failure to value social capital, ignoring the creator infrastructure, completely dismissing passive engagement, and the perception of cannibalizing a beloved world, it all seems to trace back to one fundamental, catastrophic corporate misunderstanding.
What's that?
They misidentified what their intellectual property actually is.
Oh, absolutely.
We are so trained to think of IP as the logo, the source code, the trademark characters, the expensive art assets. But a live service game without its community is basically an empty football stadium.
That is a great visual.
The steel and the concrete are there, the field is perfectly painted, the lights are on, but the energy, the meaning, the entire reason the structure exists in the first place,
Yeah.
it's completely gone.
And if we connect this to the broader industry landscape, that empty stadium is exactly what a studio is left with when they fail to realize their community is their IP.
Right.
As Dr. Hannel elegantly puts it in the paper, the phrase, "Eyes up, Guardian," which is this iconic, recognizable line from the game.
Yeah, everyone knows that line.
It only carries cultural weight because millions of people shared the experience of hearing it, discussing it, and living in that universe together. The cultural significance, the actual value of the brand, resides in the memories, the shared traditions, and the relationships of the players themselves.
You can't put a copyright symbol in a shared memory.
No, you can't. But without those shared memories, the brand is just hollow code sitting on a server.
Which brings us to the core lessons Dr. Hannel lays out for the industry. And rather than just a post-mortem on Bungie, this really reads like a survival guide for any company trying to navigate the live service space right now.
It really does.
When you realize that community is the IP, it completely redefines how you view your player base. They aren't just customers waiting in line to buy a product.
No, they are active participants managing a living ecosystem. They are strategic assets.
And that redefinition has to extend to the creator economy as well, doesn't it?
It has to. If the community is the asset, then the creators are the literal load-bearing infrastructure. They aren't just a quirky marketing add-on to send review codes to.
Right.
They provide the ongoing retention and cultural relevance that keeps the game alive during the long droughts between official content updates.
Which also means we have to completely overhaul how we define engagement.
Completely.
If watching a Twitch stream, theorizing about lore on a podcast, or teaching a new player how to run a raid is all active participation, then you cannot measure a game's health purely by concurrent player counts on a Tuesday night. Engagement extends so far beyond just active gameplay.
It does, and all of these factors, the social networks, the creators, the spectatorship, they compound to prove that social capital has hard, quantifiable economic consequences.
Real money?
Real money. Strong communities generate the kind of loyalty and long-term value that keeps a massive studio afloat during lean times. Because of network effects, every new participant who feels welcomed into that community makes the ecosystem stronger and more profitable for everyone else.
But the most immediate, glaring lesson from this whole Destiny situation has to be about how you handle transitions.
Oh, without a doubt.
Endings require successors. If you have a long-running franchise that is approaching the end of its current technological life cycle, you have to provide a credible, exciting vision of the future to preserve community cohesion.
You can't just leave them hanging.
Right. You can't just board up the city, announce a new project totally unrelated to their interests, and expect everyone to quietly go home. Because once you force that intricately woven social network to disperse, good luck ever getting them back.
Yeah, they're gone.
They will simply take their social capital and invest it in a different city entirely.
That is the ultimate danger for any live service developer. It takes a decade of consistent effort, updates, and community management to build that kind of trust and interconnection.
A decade of work.
But it takes exactly one bad, disconnected boardroom decision to shatter it completely.
It is truly a modern cautionary tale. To summarize the overarching aha moment here, Bungie's absolute greatest achievement over the last 10 years might not have been their incredible game engine. It wasn't the beautiful art design of Destiny 2 or the tightly tuned gunplay, as great as those things are. Their greatest achievement was the massive, living, breathing community that decided to call that game home.
Exactly.
And for you listening right now, I want you to apply this lens to your own digital life. The next time you see a beloved service or an app or a game suddenly get shut down, I challenge you to look past the generic corporate press releases about shifting development costs or, market realignment.
Look deeper.
Look at the invisible web of social capital being actively dismantled. Recognize the digital city that's being boarded up and the real relationships that are being displaced.
And as we close, examining all of this raises an important and frankly uncomfortable question for the tech and gaming industries to grapple with moving forward.
What's that?
If the true sustaining value of a live service franchise is actually the social capital generated by the players themselves through their own unpaid labor and networking, at what point does a community functionally own a franchise more than the company that wrote the code?